I think in terms of MVP, it may not be in this order, but to me, it's A'ja Wilson, surprise, surprise, Olivia Miles.
Kelsey Mitchell.
Can I get there?
Oh, my bad.
Kelsey Mitchell, Paige Bueckers. Those are my 4. I think you could swap, but I think Olivia Miles gets the edge just because they're the number 1 team in the league. You know,
Aliyah Boston got asked a simple MVP question, and instead of taking the easy answer, she decided to drop an explosive bombshell by leaving Caitlin Clark completely off her list. Not a slip of the tongue, not a mistake, just pure, cold shade. And now, analysts are pulling out receipts to prove this wasn't an accident.
Teamer of the league or both. And it just seems to my eye that lately, as the 3 of them, the big 3 of the Fever, gets interviewed after wins, that Aliyah's body language is very pro-Kelsey, like over-the-top pro-Kelsey, where she's hugging her and sort of leaning her direction. I don't know, maybe trying to make sure she's included in the big 3. And obviously, over time, through history, you've had 3 amigos and 3 musketeers, and you've also had one of the oldest cliches that 3 can be company. Too much company. That's why Candace Parker chose Aliyah Boston to be her partner on her podcast, Post Moves. I haven't watched the whole podcast, but I see lots of clips from it. And Candace Parker is all-time exceptionally spoken and bright, and there's no way she would choose Aliyah if Aliyah couldn't carry her weight on that show, and she does, until Caitlin Clark comes up. In every clip I see, I'm pretty sure Candace Parker has been nothing but supportive of Caitlin Clark and defends Caitlin Clark and goes on positively about Caitlin Clark, while I see Aliyah in the 2 shot of them when Caitlin comes up, and it's just, she won't say.
Fraud. Waffle House Boston. That's the gospel according to a man who built an audience smearing Aliyah Boston for saying out loud what the film already said. Kelsey Mitchell is playing like an MVP. Let's listen.
Aliyah Boston, we call the Waffle House Boston. Not we. That was actually her nickname. Aliyah Boston, that's why she was unconditioned in the 2024 season. Yeah, we're airing your dirty laundry. Man, Aliyah Boston's unconditioned. She's a snake. She's a fraud. I'm out of here, man. Like this video. Hype this video. Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Disturbs me because, as we all know, Caitlin Clark has enough issue with the rest of the league despising her, or at least despising her fandom, much of which is white, that Caitlin is blamed for sort of instigating and inspiring, which is hogwash. She goes out of her way to be non-controversial, to sidestep every controversy, to say nothing but the right things, and yet she gets blamed for somehow inspiring this right-wing white nut crowd that follows her and then in turn follows the Fever. And she gets targeted. She's been bullied in the past. She's fighting back more this year.
Kneel to his Caitlin Clark throne. So here's the part he can't afford to admit. Kelsey Mitchell is the MVP of the Indiana Fever this season. Not as a slight, but as a ledger. 17 straight games with 20 or more points. The longest single season streak in WNBA history. Night after night, she's the most reliable bucket on the floor. She's efficient, she's aggressive, she's unbothered by the circus in the building and the louder circus online. Second leading scorer in the league, while the loudest corner of Fever fandom pretends noticing her is a hate crime. And here's the receipt that should end the argument. Caitlin Clark herself called Mitchell the best scorer in the WNBA. When the star of the cult points at the teammate and says, that's the best, it's smaller, the team gets smaller, and the only thing that grows is the racket. Caitlin Clark is awesome. Say it plain so the bad faith people choke on it. She's awesome. She's not the MVP of this Fever team, though, not this season. And she's not winning the league MVP conversation over A'ja Wilson, while Kelsey Mitchell is out here rewriting the scoring history book. Clark missed 4 games. Through the first 10 to 12 she played, she was inefficient. She struggled against the best teams in the W. She's on the brink of suspension on her next technical foul. 7 techs will do that to you. She left a game mid-game without explanation over frustration with Stephanie White written all over the exit. She's played through minutes restrictions. Great player, awesome, undeniable for 2 months straight. You look at Kelsey Mitchell. Aliyah Boston's crime was telling the truth. She said Mitchell works. She said Mitchell is really just the MVP. That's basketball. That's a franchise cornerstone recognizing the engine next to her. That is not betrayal. That is not sisterhood conspiracy. That is not a salary cap or a salary cap fanfic cooked up by a man who needs a villain so the clicks don't cool off. Aliyah Boston is not a prop in somebody else's
chaotic public
origin
relations
story.
nightmare
She's a number
and an
one pick,
escalating
a
locker
two-way
room
force.
controversy
And one
have
of the
just
reasons
sent
Indiana
massive
has a real
shockwaves through the
team
entire
instead of a
WNBA,
traveling
threatening to implode front office stability,
exhibit.
dismantle executive
Seeing value in
credibility,
Mitchell
and
does not
ignite a
mean she
full-blown
hates
culture
Caitlin Clark.
war inside
It means
the
she
Indiana
has
Fever
eyes.
organization.
It means she lives in the locker
absolute
room,
center of
not
this
in the
rapidly exploding media disaster is former #1 overall draft pick and Indiana Post anchor Aliyah Boston, whose recent public statements have sparked an unprecedented national debate across mainstream broadcast television networks, sports talk radio, and digital social media platforms alike. During a high-profile appearance on the Post Moves podcast alongside WNBA legend and Hall of Fame icon Candace Parker, Boston was asked to publicly name her top mid-season most valuable player candidates. Without even a single moment of hesitation, Boston listed Las Vegas Aces superstar A'ja Wilson, Notre Dame point guard sensation Olivia Miles, Minnesota Lynx standout Paige Bueckers, and her own Indiana Fever backcourt teammate, Kelsey Mitchell. Conspicuously, intentionally, and glaringly absent from her carefully selected list was generational talent, rookie scoring phenom, and franchise centerpiece, Caitlin Clark. To make matters even more intense, Boston doubled down during subsequent post-game locker room interviews, bluntly declaring to national reporters that Kelsey Mitchell was really just the MVP. This explosive public snub immediately sent shockwaves across sports media, forcing veteran analysts, former players, and frantic fan bases to confront the uncomfortable question of whether an escalating internal rift is actively destroying the Indiana Fever from the inside out.
What elevates this situation from a minor media controversy into a spiraling dumpster fire is the alarming physical body language and subtle on-court dynamics exposed by national sports commentators. Veteran analyst Skip Bayless unleashed a scathing, step-by-step breakdown on the Skip Bayless Show, pointing out that during post-game press conferences following Fever victories, Aliyah Boston's physical demeanor has become aggressively over-the-top pro-Kelsey. Bayless observed Boston repeatedly embracing Mitchell on the podium, leaning physically into her space, and visibly shutting Caitlin Clark out of the emotional dynamic. The oldest cliche in sports history, that 3 is company but 3 is a crowd, has manifested into a toxic, dysfunctional reality inside the Indiana locker room. Furthermore, Bayless highlighted a disturbing detail on the Post Moves podcast. Whenever host Candace Parker offers glowing, unfiltered praise for Caitlin Clark's generational passing vision, Boston sits in complete, stone-faced silence, refusing to utter a single word of support. This obvious cold shoulder raises urgent concerns about whether veteran league friendships, media insecurity, and deep-seated jealousy are driving a permanent wedge straight through the Fever's core Big Three.
The moment Boston's MVP snub went viral across social media platforms, the digital landscape exploded into an absolute war zone of toxic outrage. Reactionary sports commentary accounts and internet mob channels, spearheaded by rogue commentary accounts like Venom, launched a relentless, bad faith campaign to dismantle Aliyah Boston's character and athletic credibility. Online detractors began smearing Boston with derogatory nicknames like Waffle House Boston, falsely claiming she entered the 2024 season completely out of shape and labeling her a snake and a fraud who stabbed her own teammate in the back. This poisonous internet backlash highlights the darkest corners of modern sports culture, where any legitimate praise directed toward another deserving teammate is instantly treated as a treasonous hate crime against Caitlin Clark. Instead of celebrating team victories and historic individual achievements, internet outrage mobs have turned every single box score into a toxic loyalty test, creating a hostile media environment that makes constructive, objective basketball analysis virtually impossible for players, coaches, and legitimate sports journalists. Virtually impossible.
However, Skip Bayless forcefully argues that the ultimate victim caught in the crossfire of this administrative circus is Caitlin Clark herself. Clark is already forced to navigate an unprecedented level of hostility from opposing players across the league who target her with hard physical fouls, while national media outlets weaponize her massive fan base in bad faith political culture wars. Clark routinely goes out of her way to sidestep every controversial headline, dodge loaded media traps in press conferences, and maintain immaculate professionalism under an intense microscopic lens. Yet, on the hardwood floor, subtle indicators of internal friction are beginning to surface. Bayless pointed out multiple instances where Boston appeared hesitant to swing the ball back to an open Clark on the perimeter, choosing instead to force passes to Mitchell in heavy traffic. For a once-in-a-generation, unselfish passer who leads the WNBA in assists and routinely executes uncoachable court vision, dealing with subtle internal shade and passive-aggressive passing from her own teammates is an unnecessary, career-altering handicap that threatens Indiana's postseason championship aspirations. Fiercely pushing back against this narrative of internal betrayal, fearless host Jason Whitlock delivered a ruthless counterattack, exposing the hypocrisy of toxic fan accounts and setting the record straight on Kelsey Mitchell's legitimate team MVP credentials. Whitlock argued that Aliyah Boston didn't betray anyone. She simply stated the cold, hard, objective truth that game film had already proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Kelsey Mitchell has been the undeniable scoring engine of the Indiana Fever all season long, unleashing a breathtaking, historic streak of 17 consecutive games scoring 20 or more points, the single longest scoring streak in WNBA history. Mitchell has been an efficient, fearless, and unbothered offensive force night after night, carrying the heavy scoring burden while media circuses swirled outside the arena. In fact, Whitlock brought out the ultimate receipt that shatters the toxic fan argument. Caitlin Clark herself publicly declared Kelsey Mitchell to be the single best scorer in the entire WNBA. When the superstar herself acknowledges her teammates' scoring dominance,
Whitlock didn't stop there. He pulled back the curtain on Caitlin Clark's flawed rookie season to explain why league MVP voters are looking elsewhere. While Clark remains an awesome, generational talent, her season has been far from flawless. Clark missed 4 full games due to injuries, struggled with severe shooting inefficiency during her first dozen games, and remains near the top of the league in turnovers. Even more alarming from a disciplinary standpoint, Clark has accumulated 7 technical fouls, putting her on the absolute brink of an automatic league suspension, and even walked off the floor mid-game in visible frustration over head coach Stephanie White's rotation decisions. Whitlock delivered a mic-drop final verdict. Aliyah Boston was the #1 overall draft pick, a two-way force, and a franchise cornerstone in her own right. She is not a prop in someone else's origin story. Recognizing Kelsey Mitchell's historic excellence doesn't mean Boston hates Caitlin Clark. It simply means she has basketball eyes and lives inside an authentic locker room rather than an internet comment section. In the end, true championship teams are built on professional honesty, accountability, and mutual respect, not media fan fiction.
So let's put it directly to the real sports fans who truly understand the game of basketball. Is Aliyah Boston completely justified for praising Kelsey Mitchell's historic scoring streak? Or did she cross the line by leaving Caitlin Clark off her MVP ballot? Drop your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe for the most ruthless WNBA breakdowns on YouTube. Thanks for watching Basketball Central. What do you think about today's story? Do you agree with our take, or do you see it differently? Let us know in the comments. We read them all and love hearing your opinions.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Basketball Central, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest WNBA news, breaking stories, and in-depth analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.